Unconscious bias is a topic that is being talked about a lot these days. And what it refers to is our unconscious mind and the way that our brain is working and thinking, following a pattern of thinking and making sense of information based on the stereotypes that we may have or building on our past experience to draw a conclusion without consciously processing the information. So we just receive the information and based on unconscious bias, we draw conclusions. Many different types of unconscious bias, and this can happen at the time that we are actually gathering information, or it can happen at a time that we are processing information. When we are exposed to information, it is possible that confirmation bias kick in. And what that is that we will only be able to pick up information that will confirm what we already know. So if I feel that some project is not going well and a lot of things are happening around it, my confirmation bias would be only focusing on the information that will confirm what I already believe. Another format at the time of gathering information is a selective perception bias. And that's when we are exposed to various information, we are being very selective on the information that we're actually picking up and processing. Another part of unconscious bias is that how we process this information that we have been exposed to. An example of that would be halo effect. So when we are looking at a situation and we are trying to analyze how things are going, and halo effect refers to us focusing on only one characteristic of that situation, or at other times, let's say we are interviewing someone and we are looking at all the characteristics and abilities of that person. Halo effect would be if we only focus on one characteristic. For instance, what university have they graduated from, and then we ignore all the other information and we draw our conclusion just by one characteristic that stands out to us. Other forms of unconscious bias may be the timing that we're exposed to information. So recency or primacy bias are an example of that we are more likely to place more value to information that we have been exposed to most recently. So we may have had a great year of success and pleasant experiences, but we are having a challenge toward the end of the year. And when we look back and reflect on our year, recency bias would kick in if we evaluate the whole year based on the most recent events and a more negative feel. Or the other side of that would be primacy bias, which is we place more value to the first set of information that we're exposed to. So the timing would make a difference. Other type of unconscious bias may be how we compare the information that we receive now compared to previous information we have been exposed to. A great example of contrast effect is if we are purchasing a house and you go and see a house that is really terrible, bad neighborhood. It is dirty, lots of broken walls and doors, and it's just not livable. And right after, you go and see a house that is average. It's not great. It's livable and everything about it is average, but contrast effect would kick in if you compare it to the previous one and you perceive it as a great house. Whereas if you saw the second house first, you would see it for its true value, which is more average. So there are many different types of unconscious bias, depending on how we intake information, how we process the information, what we focus on within the information that we're exposed to, and the timing of the information and how we make sense of it. Now, the way that our brain works is amazing. And unconscious bias is just a reality of our thinking process. However, by being aware of this, we can implement some processes and some methods to manage and control it. So in the case of interviewing, by having some structured questions that we would ask every candidate, and we would rate them with this guided assessments that we have, then we are more likely to have a more objective rating for each candidate that then we could look at and make a decision based on. So it is a reality, but luckily there are ways that we can manage that. And the first step to do that is being aware of all type of unconscious bias that we may engage in and find ways to manage it.